Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we have more people registered. I'm sure that more will start to join over the next few minutes. But my name is April Harrington. I'm the project manager for the Chicagoland Healthcare Workforce Collaborative. Thank you so much for joining us for our best practices in community recruitment industry convening. For those who are new to a CHWC event, let me take a step back and tell you a little bit about us first. We are a sector partnership made up of 12 of the major health and hospital systems in Chicagoland, united to form a more inclusive healthcare workforce. And we do that in partnership with our community partners in training and community organizations and the workforce development system. We do that through three strategic pillars. One is local and targeted hiring. The other is bridging a stronger relationship with our training partners. And the other is focusing on retention and career pathways. So ensuring that we're not just bringing people into the healthcare workforce, but we're also offering them progressive pathways to advance to reach family sustaining, family wealth building careers. Like I mentioned, we are an employer-led sector partnership. So our employers are the ones determining our strategies and our activities. We have 12 of the major health and hospital systems at the table. 6 of those also sit on our steering committee. And we have more than a dozen strategic partners, including training providers like CPS and city colleges, the workforce development system like Chicago Cook Partnership, and a variety of community organizations, some of which are joining us today. Thank you for joining us. So today we're talking about best practices in community recruitment. And what exactly does that mean? I know that many of the systems who are members of the Chicagoland Healthcare Workforce Collaborative have specific goals around hiring from their local communities, around hiring from communities that have experienced more unemployment and underemployment historically. And many of you are trying to recruit for your frontline positions, for positions such as food service or environmental services or security. And you often work with community partners to do that sourcing, provide job readiness, provide help with applications and with onboarding. And that's what we're here to talk about today. This came up as a important strategy to talk about and to strengthen since the COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's gotten a lot harder for many of you to do this type of recruiting since March of 2020, not only because of the difficulties with the pandemic, but also the resulting great resignation and the state of the labor market today. So the kinds of questions that we're here to discuss are, how do you effectively partner with community organizations to tap into your local diverse talent pools? How do you ensure that those candidates are job ready? And how do you support the candidates through the application and onboarding process, and ultimately ensure retention? So those are the types of questions that I've asked the presenters to discuss with us today. The first section of our event will be presentations. I'm very excited to have Yariela Kerr-Donovan with us, the Senior Director of Strategic Workforce Development from Johns Hopkins. I think it's always beneficial for us to bring in a guest from outside of Chicago to see what's going on in different cities. Then we'll hear from Andrew Peck, Director of Client Services at Skills for Chicagoland's Future, and Kelly Judge, a campus and community recruiting consultant at U Chicago Medicine, to hear about their very successful partnership. And then finally, we'll hear from Dana Anthony, a talent acquisition sourcing consultant at Rush University, who has built a suite of relationships through her application hub model. After we hear from the presentations, and after each, you will have time to ask questions. So I encourage you to put questions in the chat as people are talking. But then we'll move into a discussion where I would like to talk about this issue of how has this changed since COVID? What is harder for you? What's making it harder? What's different? And what are the creative solutions and strategies you have tried to implement or are considering implementing to address those new challenges? And finally, I hope we come out of today with some ideas on how collaboration might be able to help us through CHWC. or other things that CHWC could do to support you all in your efforts to do community recruitment for the healthcare sector as a whole in Chicago. Before I move into our speakers today, I also want to share something else with you. I have created just a brief resource guide. I'll share that link now, and I'll also share it at the end of the session, and I'll send it out with our meeting materials afterwards. But I just wanted to bring some resources together in one place that might be helpful to you. So this is what it looks like. I've just placed the link in the chat. I've pulled together a toolkit, which is actually where I found Yariela from Johns Hopkins and learned about their model. This is an inclusive local hiring toolkit that was put together by the Hospitals Aligned for Healthy Communities series with Democracy Collective back in 2016. It includes several case studies that are very interesting to learn from, along with worksheets and actual tools to get started. Then there's a link to Talent Solutions Connector, which is an employer-facing tool which launched last year and includes a variety of community organizations that you can contact to do community recruitment with. Actually lists 27 community organizations that perform candidate sourcing for permanent hire, specifically in healthcare in Chicagoland. And that's not even all the organizations that are listed there. There are others that do customized training, incumbent worker training, retention services, and more. Then here's a little bit about the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnerships Healthcare Sector Center, which is managed by Equus Works, and some contacts there, including Kathleen Brannigan and Anissa Jakupovich. That center is designed specifically to help employers like you meet your talent needs, and they are there to help fund programs, build programs with you, source talent. So consider them a resource to you. And then I've just pulled together a list of some of these many organizations, some of which are here today. Skills, Kara, I see is here. All of these organizations work with job seekers to prepare them for jobs in healthcare or in other sectors, and you can contact these folks to build those relationships. One thing that I'm going to flag is I've listed Upwardly Global here. Anyone who joined our March quarterly meeting might remember Upwardly Global, who did a presentation on hiring internationally trained medical professionals. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter about this probably next week, but I'd just like to let you all know that there is a very unique opportunity right now. There's an emergency proclamation that allows internationally trained physicians to work under Illinois licensed physicians. I'm working with Upwardly Global to ensure that we actually get some people into those roles to help us learn from it, demonstrate the success of tapping into that talent pool. And then that will help us inform some longer term legislation. A bill was just approved in the Illinois legislation yesterday to create a working group to look at Illinois relicensing reform for international medical graduates. So that is coming down the pipeline, and we want all of those changes to be very employer informed. So that was a little aside, but I will please reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about that. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Yariela from Johns Hopkins to present her model. And Yariela, you should be able to share your screen.
Thank you, April. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for, I'm looking for my slide. Thank you for this opportunity to speak briefly about the work of our office and what we're doing at Johns Hopkins. Can everyone see the presentation? I know we have a lot to cover. There's quite a few slides, but I'll go through them quickly and I'm available obviously for questions. So I thought it would be good to give a overview of the office, and that's an update. It's not workforce forecasting, but workforce development forecasting. And so where we're trying to work with our entities Johns Hopkins Health System, Johns Hopkins Medicine has 2 academic research hospitals, 3 community hospitals, a hospital in Florida, 1 hospital in DC, a home care group, a community physicians, and then a healthcare group that has, as we're self-insured, provides insurance support. And then we also serve, in some spaces, the School of Medicine, the staff in the School of Medicine, which is part of the university, separate employer from the health system, but Johns Hopkins Medicine is the virtual organization that connects the School of Medicine, the faculty there, are physicians with privileges within our health system. And so we're working with departments as we can to help them with their workforce development needs, and most importantly, trying to get ahead of the curve with any developments with technology or changes in operational structure that would impact the workforce and or the skills needed for the employees in those jobs. We target mostly our frontline to mid-level independent or individual contributors. And in some spaces we'll help leaders with resumes and the like, but just to give you a sense. So our incumbent programs are called Project Reach. And the main focus, and this has been, is to help our employees grow their careers, and especially with specific supports like paid release time, that's the salary release, helping employees with limited resources and time, again, frontline staff, to pursue education and training in those shortage areas. And we will pay 16 hours a week of their wages to pursue their schooling. So they're in essence working part-time, but still pulling down their full-time salary and benefits to accelerate their ability to complete their education in shortage areas that we need. And this is a way of promoting from within. Our community adult programs and partnerships really designed, we are targeting individuals in our community with barriers to employment. Our talent acquisition team in our office is in HR. We partner with talent acquisition, total rewards, our business partners, benefits, but our talent acquisition team, recruiters, are sourcing and scooping up the talent that's ready for immediate hire at Hopkins. Strategic workforce development, we're working with individuals who aren't quite there yet, but through our partnerships with community-based organizations, post-secondary educational institutions, and other workforce development agencies, partnering with them to help folks get ready to pathway them to opportunities at Hopkins. And then the same with our youth programs, a bit more of our long-term strategy, but one where we recognize within our city, there's some youth that are ready for work right after high school, may not be ready for college right away. And so we're trying to really target those youth, knowing that you'll work for an employer who has tuition assistance. And so when you're ready, you would be able to get your college education. Our community programs, so I'm focusing on the external, not as much of our Project Reach pathways, but just wanted to highlight that because the trajectory is, it's a pathway, right? It's not just that we want you to come in and work for us and stay stagnant in your job. If you want to, that's great. If you want to stay where you are and you're happy, but if there's opportunity for growth that you're seeking, our office with our coaches in partnership with others in the institution can help guide you to other areas, either within the health system or within the university, because we partner with our university folks as well. Johns Hopkins, both university and health system, is the largest private employer in the state of Maryland and the second largest employer after the state government. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow and transition. And the other thing about a health system is that we also have almost every job that you can find in a city, right? We have construction and facilities work, we have IT, finance, marketing, HR, we have our patient facing, we have transportation, we have food, customer service. So all of those different industries that are represented there, there's an aligned job within the health system. So we partner with our community to really look for individuals who would be a good fit. Hopkins Local is our economic inclusion initiative across the enterprise, both the Johns Hopkins University and the health system, targeting 4 main areas: build, construction, buy, procurement, hire, and then investments. And the focus here is targeting certain zip codes that have certain statistics: low graduation rate for high school, low college, high unemployment, really targeting those zip codes and galvanizing our anchor strength in supporting the businesses, minority and women-owned businesses, development, and most definitely the hire and other investments in those communities, largely in Baltimore, but that is going to eventually expand to wherever we may have a Hopkins entity. So portions of DC, possibly, and also Florida. Some of our community programs, what we call transitional employment partnership, we work with community-based organizations, but largely definitely the Department of Social Services and other areas to target individuals who are receiving public assistance or some other sort of support from the city to maintain their livelihood, and transitioning them to an on-the-job training opportunity. So sometimes we have individuals who may not meet the recruitment requirements right up front. Those are those barriers that we're talking about. It might be training, it could be something else, but we're partnering with our community-based organizations and the case manager that may have that pool, and then our coaches will work to then pathway folks in. It's an unpaid internship because folks are receiving supports, but we target jobs for which an on-the-job training experience would help people be competitive in the applicant pool. This has been very helpful, and I think a really good pathway for individuals who may be returning citizens or individuals with disabilities. We have specific reentry and like our Department of Rehabilitation Services supported community-based organizations that we partner with to pathway those populations who disproportionately suffer and are oftentimes very last in the workforce pool because of those barriers, really targeting individuals in those populations that would be a good fit for the opportunities we have. So an on-the-job training experience really gets them in front of the hiring manager as a trainee. These participants really present themselves, and what we have seen with our hiring managers is they see someone with the work ethic, the customer service, the problem solving, the right attitude. The hiring manager is eager to hire them, and our talent acquisition folks on average are sorting through 10,000 applications a month, right? For various jobs. This is one way with our partnership to kind of get folks ahead in the queue. And when the hiring manager and our coaches are talking with a talent acquisition person saying, we know we got this person, they're working with us, they've applied, we want to hire them, it helps really expedite that process. We do also help people with direct hire. We do get referrals with folks that are coming, even if they have a criminal background or some other disability that may have some great skill and experience. But our application process, just understanding, navigating this huge organization. So for example, sometimes people apply to the university thinking that they've applied to the health system and vice versa, and just navigating the application process and understanding the hiring process. Our coach works and serves as an advocate. So we keep a listing. We meet weekly with talent acquisition to say, here are the individuals that we've been working with. Here are the community-based organizations. And with our work with them, we know that they have the values and the skills to do these jobs. Would you just forward them on? They're applying, forward them on to the hiring manager who would make the ultimate hire. Our reentry support, I described a bit of that through these practices. Individuals who are coming in from our community programs are assigned a coach. So this is in one way how we also try to make sure to keep folks connected. And then we're trying to make sure that we're a bit more intentional with our college partnership programs, really targeting certain post-secondary educational institutions with great work in particular disciplines for which we need individuals, and then trying to open up the door a little bit more for internships that would lead to permanent employment. This is in addition to the externships that one would find like with a nursing student. We have plenty of that, or all of those occupations where, as a part of it, the schools are trying to find clinical sites for folks to do that, where this is in addition to that work. Our features here: coaching, career planning, workforce development pathways, definitely assessments to help them develop an understanding of what skills they're bringing to the table, where we may need to help them with working on some things, maybe uncovering other skills that they may have that they weren't aware of that could guide them towards other opportunities within the institution. For Hopkins Local, as I mentioned, we have certain zip codes, and we've identified certain jobs that we want to target, more low barriers to entry, but that's going to open up because we find that there's talent with skills in a variety of levels within those zip codes. And so that's opening up, but we do want to target those. Occupational health, background screening, most definitely for any of the adult programs, especially the internship program. Folks apply to that. That gives us license to do what is basically a tacit hiring process. We have we run the background, which helps us not to keep someone out, but to say, okay, for this particular internship, this particular background might not be a good fit. Let's kind of get you to this other area where it wouldn't be a problem. And we work closely with someone in our HR in talent acquisition that only does all of the background checks, that has a background in the criminal justice and system, so understands how to read a background, know when something is, something that might create a risk, or when there's something that isn't a risk for us, and then we make sure that we're guiding people to the appropriate positions, position by position. Our OCHEL screening, which has become even more critical with the pandemic, and making sure folks are vaccinated, and recognizing that for some that may not, and they can't work at a hospital, they can't come on site. That's where we are. We do have, for folks that may have had an addiction problem, that's fine. We just have to see that they've been in recovery, and then they're working with our OC Health folks to make sure that they're staying on that path. And then obviously our I-9, we're doing special outreach. We have a large Latino population in some of our areas of the hospitals, and we're trying to make sure that we are truly, the patients are largely Latino, and we're trying to make sure that we're hiring from that community as well, and doing some additional stuff there. Here are some of the processes, right, for each of the on-the-job training and direct hire. And we'll make this available to you, but just kind of giving you what an ideal candidate looks like and a little bit of the process. Our reentry work, we've had a long-standing focus on reentry. largely back in the 90s, when we were again experiencing shortages. Our leaders, our president of the health system, our senior vice president of security, our VP of HR, and our senior legal counsel really took time to look at their different areas. And for HR, where were we creating artificial barriers? So here's why we've done this work and what we've learned about some of the things that we were able to do. And we've removed some barriers, and we've added some things like this position for the screener who has this understanding of backgrounds that can help people gain access to employment. We've banned the box. We know that that's a deterrent. It was never a deterrent for us. We just needed to know for the job that someone was applying to if there was a background issue. But having that on the application when someone's applying is nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking applying to a job anyway and then coming against this. So we banned the box. We have a normal application and interview process. They meet. If the hiring manager wants this person, it's only at that time when we put out a tacit offer. And then based on 4 screenings that they have to pass: health screening, background screening, educational verification, and references. And there are offices that manage that process. And once our HR office has looked at the background and said that this person is fine for that position, that information goes nowhere else. It stays within HR and security. And we do, again, when needed, coaches might be assigned for folks in that space. We use these guidelines. This was something that our legal counsel years ago researched with the EEOC. And so everyone wants the formula, right? Well, that's a big formula there. So it's not, we do look at everyone on a case-by-case basis. And we then try to help and train our community partners about what we're looking for so that there's successful transition. We've started some ESL outreach, recognizing that in our city, folks get a little nervous, right? If they have papers or don't have papers, and that's not anything that we're interested in. Obviously, you have to be able to pass the I-9 to get hired, but we're not taking that any further. But one strategy that we've decided to do in our office is to start to really focus on the ESL providers in the either community colleges or organizations where in the areas that we have a hospital or entity, and really start to partner to make sure that we are bringing some diversity also into our hiring. And so just to be intentional about that. And then our college partnership, as we mentioned earlier, we're starting to try to make sure that we are targeting those programs that have healthcare as their discipline in undergrad and pathwaying those students to openings, be they patient-facing or administrative or otherwise, so that they can continue to grow within our organization. Some strategies for successful partnerships: strong workforce development partnerships with your departments. I'm in HR, we have to have strong partnerships with our internal departments. With if we're working with reentry, legal and security, and the way we've structured our HR process enables the privacy of the person being hired is protected, but that they have been fully vetted and no compromise has been made in terms of trying to get this person into any position. Screening carefully, obviously, a lot of information sessions, helping people make educated decisions about what we are offering so that no one's surprised. And so we do a lot of those. If there's a pre-hire curriculum like the information sessions and other activities or exposures that help someone be prepared for the work that's done at your institution. And then internships, that is a nice way for folks to learn each other, both the department and the participant, and then obviously job coaches. Our students, Again, and I'll go through this quickly. We have like high school internships as well through the year-long Crystal Way. I highlight. We have a program where they invoice us, we pay for a portion of the student's tuition, and then they work with our office throughout, not our office, but within the institution for a year. And that's really working out really well. We have a summer jobs program. This is one of the services that our office coordinates for both the health system and the university. And so we had, all of these are paid. I have the president's, a special cost center from both president of the university and the health system to fund this, to pay students to come and work. And obviously when the pandemic hit, we still supported students where a lot of places were saying we couldn't. We created a virtual program where it was an online career and education exploration platform. We brought speakers in. We have this application where it's your kindergarten through 12th grade curriculum on there so that students could be aligned with geometry classes virtually and help enhance their academics while they're in the summer. But there was also career alignments and post-secondary educational alignments, SAT prep. And then we brought in a ton of speakers from across the enterprise, nursing and social work, or a principal investigator that's doing particular research. We have folks that were talking about the community work that we were doing with the vaccine and COVID, talking with students about that, and all sorts of speakers from across the enterprise, which now we're going to incorporate. Now that the sanctions are lifting a little bit, we're going to have a hybrid program this summer. We're on track to do 500 students again, but now bring in more students on site and still keep that virtual platform going. Other year-long internships, an Adopt a Class program that was elementary and middle school students, trying to reinforce academic excellence and lifelong learning. And that's the underpinning, I think, with our youth programs, both mentorship and lifelong learning, exposure to different things so that you can determine what career interest you would like, and starting with 4th and 6th graders. So like at that point, especially with girls who tend to lose momentum in middle school with math and science, making sure that we're sending women, nurses, doctors in to talk about the importance of those things, but also to recognize that the work that they're doing at that level, our staff still uses today, right? The math, the reading, all of that. And then just a little bit more description. School of Medicine has some pathway programs as well that we're trying to make sure students know about as well. So we pathway there. We did a speaker series for Latinx students. And let me talk about the office structure. Small office, central but growing. So that's the office. I mean, I'm not listed here, and the college interns aren't full-time regular staff, but that's who we have kind of managing all of this. The certifications that we ask for of our coaches, those are the things that we're looking for: a bachelor's degree, but at least with a master's. And then those kinds of work experiences and certifications. Here are the services, and then pathway planning. So the work that we're doing in creating trainings with our post-secondary educational institutions to create training pathways internally for our employees and to pathway community residents into getting hired and then growing their careers. That kind of work is being done. I hope I didn't take up too much everyone's time or went over time, but I can pause here for questions. Oops.
Thank you so much, Yariela. I wasn't expecting all of this information, but I learned so much, and I'm very impressed with how each of your different strategies feed into each other, and you really have a holistic approach to your workforce development. We do have to move on pretty soon, but if anyone has any questions for Yariela, please speak up. And I will ask one before we move on. Is Yariela, I know that providing opportunities to advance is a very important part of your overall strategy. And I'm wondering what impact you think that makes on your initial recruitment and hiring. Are you talking about that from day one as you're recruiting through your community organizations? And do you think that's something that is really important for those candidates to hear and keeps them in navigating the process of interviewing and finding the right people to talk to? As you said, it's a huge system that can be complex. Just how important do you think that is from the very beginning of hiring?
That's extremely important. And so for our work, when we're holding information sessions, we hold information sessions like twice a month with our community partners. We also send out a listing of all of our shortages. They refer their participants, and we're talking about the services, not just for how we're going to help you right now to get this first job, but then keeping your mind on what's down the line for you, not just this job, but what is the career? And more than likely you can do this here. The other thing that we're doing right now, and we're piloting something in one of our largest departments in our hospitals, is with housekeeping, our general services group, patient transport, housekeeping, linen, materials management, nutrition. And while we're talked about in our general orientation, now those departments have given us some time. Once the general orientation to Hopkins, after someone's been hired, then you go to the department specific ones, right? As on your first week, we have a 2-hour time slot to just talk about our vision and values, how to be great where you are, how we can partner with you to continue to grow. And we find that folks are very, very much interested. Folks come in and say, this is the job that I wanted to get my foot in the door, but I have a vision for, I want to be a nurse and I want to do it here. So working lockstep with folks in that manner and letting them know that there's a space to help provide guidance to that is extremely important.
Thank you, Yariela. And there's one question in the chat for you about which roles did you focus on when you first started the REACH program? And you're muted.
So our that it was almost I'm laughing because that was 18 years ago, and it started as a Department of Labor grant, $3 million Department of Labor grant that was only supposed to be 18 months. We didn't do. And I got hired to manage that. So the assessment internally really undershot the skill set of our incumbent group, right? So we were supposed to serve 400. We ended up really touching over 1,000 folks to get people into jobs. So it was all sorts of jobs: nursing, respiratory therapy, surge tech. We had some administrative jobs like unit secretary. We had central sterile processing. It was whichever departments had a need. And that's how we did that first year, which was, just amazing. We also had during that time RIFs, reductions in force. We had in radiology, digital film clerks. We had this new technology coming in that reduced what we had, like 60 something film clerks. And we were getting equipment that was making things digital in a particular space, reducing that number drastically. Our coaches assessed and worked with those who were not going to be in the new jobs to find other jobs in the system. So it ran the gamut. And we also helped student employees with GED. So there were 5 main themes that we were focusing on. And business skills, just workforce development skills, the GED, declining to emerging jobs, the actual training for jobs, and then that reentry. Again, that's where the partnership with the departments internally are very, very important. Senior leaders. Our senior leaders led this. They were like, this was a part, very similar to what happened with the reentry. Our senior leaders have always been behind this education and development and the commitment to Baltimore City and any of our locations. And so as a 24/7 operation, we can't afford not to leave good talent untapped in our communities. And we want it within our catchment area. Someone that lives 2 blocks away can get to work if there's a blizzard, a storm, or some sort of emergency. We can't import people, everyone from elsewhere. And we have talented people right within our catchment area that we were missing. And that was that shortage of staffing. That's what we did. So our senior leadership was like, we have to do something. And that's where that partnership with the city and our work as an anchor institution was that we've made that commitment. And you can't do this work without having the top leaders be behind it. It's just like pushing a boulder up the hill. So that's where if they don't buy in, and it's not like charity. This was a business decision so that we could provide the service that was needed in all of our spaces. We're not giving a handout. We're not compromising. This was a strategic business decision to move in this way and expand in this way.
And I think, Yariela, you might have just answered the question that's in the chat. And this will be the last question because we do have to move on, although I know I'm very interested in hearing everything about your model. But the question is, how do you get buy-in from the senior leaders to allow some of the employees to work part-time while being paid full-time during that talent shortage?
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting because our office pays for the 16 hours. We have a cost center that is devoted to that. So that department is getting 16 hours of wages back to them, right? Now, it depends. They may be able to parcel that out with temporary staff to keep things moving or give overtime. But oftentimes, if we're talking about a career pathway within the same department, so imagine a housekeeper that works in a particular unit that's trying to become a CNA will be a CNA in that unit and then maybe become a patient care tech in that unit and an RN in that unit. So oftentimes the department is seeing it as a reinvestment also into the growing skill set that they need in their department in particular areas. Now, they're giving departments, the general housekeeping, all of those folks. But that's why we need that strong pathway from the community to consistently feed people in. And those departments recognize that they play a critical role in helping keeping the organizational whole because there are people in those departments that are the next nurse, the next respiratory therapist. And that understanding is just part of the ethos, the culture that we have to have in the organization.
Thank you so much, Yariela, for taking the time to speak with us. I will share your slides, which are so informative with this group and with the entire collaborative. Just thank you for taking the time. And I know you might have another meeting to get to. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And please have a great day. I can stay for a little bit. I'm curious to hear as well.
Stay as long as you'd like. Yes.
I will learn a lot as well. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I will pass it on to Andrew Peck from Skills for Chicagoland's Future and Kelly Judge from the University of Chicago Medicine to talk about their partnership. And I think I enabled both of you to share screens.
Thank you so much, April. Are you able to see my presentation? Great, wonderful, and thank you so much for having us today. I also want to thank Yariela for that presentation. I hope that I'm able to provide her with something helpful today, but she's really given us a lot to think about. When I say us, I mean Skills for Chicagoland's Future. We are a social enterprise here in Chicagoland that has been in operation since 2012. And we are changing lives through a job-first model, which means that we use a demand-driven approach to connect the unemployed and underemployed job seekers of Chicagoland with quality jobs. And the way that we're able to do that is to partner with organizations such as the University of Chicago Medicine to provide opportunities to the candidates that we are able to connect with through our pipelines. And in just coincidence, We'll also be hearing from another one of our great partners today when Dana Anthony from Rush University Medical Center presents. She's also one of our best friends. So speaking of best friends, joining me today from the University of Chicago Medicine to talk about our partnership and the success that we've had throughout the years since 2014 in placing over 500 candidates. That's over 500 lives changed, is Kelly Judge. And Kelly is a campus and community recruiting consultant at University of Chicago Medicine. Would like to cede the floor to her now and ask if she could provide some background on our partnership from her side and why she thinks that that it works. And then I'll get into the nuts and bolts of the way that she and I work together.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Judge. As Andrew stated, I'm the campus and community recruiting consultant at U Chicago Medicine on our talent acquisition team. Focus of my role is working with community partners such as Skills, also Kara, I see is on the line, Liana, and then facilitating hiring events, and then also building community partnerships with local schools so that we can build pipelines. We've had a great relationship with Skills over the years. I can't believe the number of hires and it's growing. So that's been really great to see. Skills has been so great to work with. You could tell that they're very focused on their mission of helping the underemployed and unemployed. All of the candidates that they submit through to us are well prepared, not only for the job search process and interview process, but also for employments. They really are very committed to making sure that, you know, any opportunities that we have that we're looking for candidates for, that the candidates know exactly what to expect in those roles and that they're well prepared. And I think that that's part of why our partnership has been so successful. And we've been really fortunate to hire so many great individuals who continue to work with us today. So.
Thanks, Kelly. Want to talk a little bit about how Skills helps organizations like UCM and like Rush. The different programs that we have in place to help the job seekers and the hiring partners that we are in close contact with is, you know, first and foremost with the direct job placement, and that's both adults and youth. We screen and identify quality DEI candidates for the hiring partners who span, it's over 100 hiring partners all told throughout our organization's history. At the moment, we're working with probably around 40 of them very closely to provide that job placement service. There's also a job preparedness and career pathways programming section of our work, and that's primarily youth, high school, college, and emerging careers, and that's providing access to professional credentials and career journey. So people who come to us with either the credentials already or the desire and willingness to get the credentials can be connected with both educational partners and hiring partners to get into quality jobs with a sustainable long-term career track. We also have a presence in several parts of the city through our Skills neighborhood links. We started with just the office downtown Chicago on Wacker Drive, but in the past 12 months, we have opened our South Side location in Inglewood, and very soon we will be opening the West Side location in North Lawndale. So we're really proud of the opportunity to connect with local job seekers where they live. This gives us the opportunity to hold job fairs and meetings and interviews with candidates, so it's a short travel time for them. And then our employers are also located in those locations, have a good place to go and provide some interview, and in time, we hope to be able to open up that space for training as well, providing a centralized training location for our partners who might be, it might be a challenge for candidates who are going to be working remotely specifically to go to a centralized location to train, but being able to meet with them in the location where they live is a powerful way to speed that process up and get people into the system into jobs that might have considered that a barrier in the past. Consulting wise, the neighborhood impact and data market insights and talent sharing that we provide. If you want to talk to an expert on a certain area of the city where your organization might be interested in moving, you might be wanting to open up a new location, we have that insight and that ability to tell you what would work and what types of barriers you should expect. That data and market insight is something that we provide to all of our partners, and that is just that we keep our ear to the street about what's going on in the local labor market, but we're also watching through our from a national lens about what's happening labor-wise and with the way that the world works now with shutdowns from COVID, people, going on strike for various reasons throughout the country that could send ripple effects, even all the way back to Chicagoland. We stay on top of that for our partners and let them know what we know so that they just have that a little bit extra insight and information into their industry and others that they might be working with. And then finally, we sit with our friends at Kara and many others at the CBO Collective. And that's a conglomerate of community engagement partners that strategize with local employers and local groups. That's 16 workforce-focused organizations who are organized for systemic change. So there might be a specific group that provides a service or wraparound to a specific group or type of job seeker that skills and its hiring partner might not be able to provide. Because of our connection with that community engagement CBO collective, we have partners who can. So it's really a great relationship that we've been able to enjoy with those other workforce organizations. So as you can see, since our inception in 2012, we are well over 9,000 lives changed, and we will get well over 10,000 this year in our 10th year. Our focus is expanding. So while these are the impact numbers that you can see for 2021, I would say a quasi-pandemic year, we are looking to expand our placements within this year to 1,300, and then there are incremental rises every year for the next 3. So you can see that we do measure quite a bit of the impact that we provide on the lives of job seekers. So you look at the median wage, it's $15.50, but the average wage of a job seeker placed through our job services is $16.29. We are tracking both gender and race as well as age. So you can see what the numbers are there. Predominantly, we are placing female job seekers, though those numbers are less disparate than they used to be. And then the ethnic backgrounds of our job seekers tend to kind of reflect what you see, unfortunately, across the unemployment numbers in Chicagoland. So Black, Hispanic make up almost more than 90% of the job seekers that we are able to work with. And that, again, that just reflects what we see in Chicagoland, and one of the things that our organization and our hiring partners are motivated and mission driven to change. The top placement neighborhoods, when you're talking about target zip codes, Yariela, our partners do the same thing. So West Inglewood, Roseland, Greater Grand Crossing, and South Shore and Auburn Gresham are the areas of the Chicagoland where unemployment is most dramatic. So therefore, it kind of stands to reason that you would see the majority of our job placement candidates hailing from those areas. Overall retention rates, I think on the whole, are pretty good when we match them up with what our employers are seeing. Overall, 30-day retention is at 77% last year. 90-day retention was at 51%. In the throes of what is known as the Great Resignation. We are looking for ways to partner with our community partners as well as our hiring partners to bring those numbers up. And when you look at the type of programming that our hiring partners have to kind of integrate and institute coaching and mentoring and all of the different added benefits to helping non-traditional workers get acclimated and comfortable and really thrive within their workforce. That's when you start to see those numbers come up. And then it's also beholden upon us to find candidates who are interested in a long-term opportunity and provide our hiring partners with those that meet that particular distinction. Placements by education, most have no or some high school, or actually have a high school diploma. That's where you're going to find that middle skill worker, of course. So that's the slight majority of the workers that we are helping. Some college, 27%, trade school, associates, bachelors, masters. So we do have some college to careers programs and candidates who are recent college graduates that we do help to find opportunities. We know that people coming out of college today have a lot of different choices, but it really helps to partner with organizations that want specifically to work with them so that they don't get lost in that shuffle. Placements by industry, you can see that we do kind of run the gamut. And healthcare makes up 16%, so not a small number. Business services and financial services are among the highest as well. Retail at 39%, a lot of entry-level jobs in those industries, of course. So now we get specifically to the work that we've done with our dear friends at the University of Chicago Medicine since 2014. You can see a steady trajectory of total hires per year. The primary roles that we have specialized in filling with Kelly and her cohorts is food service, housekeeping, patient transport, and then also NSA externs, which is a pathways program that we instituted last year, launched in order to get NSA nurses aid pathways participants into a program with Malcolm X College here locally. And they have the opportunity to get their certification and then enjoy a extern opportunity at the University of Chicago Medicine, where they will be able to learn on the job before they're eligible for hire. So that was year one in 2021, and we're looking to provide even more opportunities and long-term jobs in 2022. On the whole, as you look back to 2014 and that steady upward trajectory, we have placed over 500 candidates at the University of Chicago Medicine, and we do enjoy skills board leadership from Derek Douglas at the University of Chicago. He is the one who originally connected us with UCM, and we were proud to present in our most recent employment and employer champions breakfast the Champion of the Unemployed Award to our friends at University of Chicago Medicine. So they were honored, and we were proud to present them, and we heard from their HR leadership and Bob Hanley, and one of the members of that extern program who you see speaking. And it was just a really powerful presentation at our annual breakfast. So Rush is a past winner of that award as well. We have a very specific and detailed process for how we move candidates from the submittal stage to employment at University in Chicago Medicine. And I will not delve deeply into this, but you will be provided, of course, with the slides later so that you can see the process that our recruiters and Kelly and our job seekers, her hiring managers, and her HR companions move through in order to get a person from the submittal stage at skills to the final destination, which is a quality job at the University of Chicago Medicine. And it really relies on the communication, not just between our teams, but between Kelly's teams as well. It's great that she is able to provide us every week with a report that has not only the status of each of our candidates who are in process, and sometimes that list can be very lengthy. I've definitely seen them go up to 30, 40 candidates at a time. the fact that her team has the time and the you know, the dedication to the mission to provide us with where they are in the process. They could be going on to their second interview. They could be awaiting results of their occupational medical testing, or they could be provided with a start date and looking to get to work on the following Monday. That gives our recruiters the opportunity to follow up with each candidate every week and say, okay, so have you got your paperwork turned in? Have you taken your, you know, your occupational med? Are you excited? Are you ready for your first day? Do you have the, you know, the uniform that you need, etc., so that we are with those candidates, really guiding them every step of the way, and doing so in cooperation with Kelly. And in order to provide us with that information, she's got to be in close contact with the hiring managers, so that she knows, one, you know, how did the interview progress? Did the person get selected? Is there feedback on their interview that we need to send back to those job seekers, so that even if they are not fortunate enough to get the position with the University of Chicago Medicine, we've got those other 40 partnering organizations that we could steer them to for another opportunity with that feedback and with that understanding of, you know, where they are in their career search. So that's just been so powerful, and we appreciate that level of detail that they bring, and that just kind of motivates us to find the specific and the correct type of mission-driven job seeker that they need in order to fill those extremely important roles throughout their organization. If we just want to talk about the highlights, the keys to success here, why we've been able to place the 580, why we're looking at another big year in 2022, it's that consistent communication between Skills and the UCM's talent acquisition teams. And then UCM's focus on hiring from the Southside community really parallels with Skills candidate population. They are in Hyde Park, in a place that is extremely accessible to many of our job seekers, which really helps. But they're also a pillar of that community. Everybody knows the University of Chicago Medicine, the name rings out, and people feel that that's a very stable and, you know, I would say lucrative opportunity for job growth. Their reputation is just really strong in speaking with the candidates that we speak to. So I mean, never rule out location, but their reputation also is a key factor in why we find so many unemployed and underemployed job seekers who are eager for an opportunity with them. So, and then it's just also a strong understanding of UCM's needs by our Skills TA team, because of the experience we've had, because of the long-term partnership. Our recruiter, he knows really well exactly what Kelly and her team and the hiring partners are looking for, what makes a good candidate at UCM, what they should be prepared for on day one, what they should be prepared for long term. So, you know, that partnership has just kind of grown and flourished. If ever there's a problem, Kelly and our client services managers are on the phone coming up with a solution. If there is a slowdown in hiring, she lets us know, you know, really quickly in advance, so that we could pivot to other opportunities that could, you know, help job seekers in the meantime, while we're waiting for the ones that are traditionally more, you know, prolific for us in our organization. So I will stop there and allow anyone who has questions about Skills or UCM or about the partnership to let us know and see if there's anything that we can answer for you.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Kelly. I've seen a couple of points resonate that Yariela had brought up, which is having that leadership buy-in from the top. You know, having a board relationship seems to be very important for the success of your relationship, and also the internal communication. You know, the fact that Kelly is in constant communication with the talent acquisition teams also reflects what Yariela was speaking to. I will send these slides out to everyone afterwards. Does anyone have any questions for Kelly or Andrew before we hear from Dana Anthony at Rush University Medical Center? Well, we will move on then. And I regret we probably won't have a ton of time for discussion at the end of today's event. I do have a short poll that I'll send to everyone at the end of the event that has some lists, some opportunities for us to collaborate with each other. So I would love it if you all would take a minute to fill that out, give me your feedback on this session, and also help us figure out some steps forward, because I would love to figure out how CHWC can support you all in these efforts, and continue to share best practices or provide other additional support. But right now we'll move on to Dana Anthony at Rush, who is also a partner with Skills, to hear about the application hub model. Thank you again, Kelly and Andrew.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Andrew, for all of the kind words. Yes, we are definitely BFFs. We have great times in our bi-weekly meetings, and I'm grateful and appreciative of the partnership that we have. You all bring us some great candidates, so looking forward to that continued relationship. You said that I do have sharing capabilities?
Yes.
So apologies now, because I want to make sure that we do have time to have some discussion if there's some things that you all want to discuss further. So I'm not going to speed through it, but I'm going to speed through it. Okay. You all see my screen? Okay. So as the community sourcing consultant at Rush University Medical Center, it is just that I source community relationships in and around the hospital. We are located in the medical district on the west side of Chicago. So I primarily focus on the community organizations that are in that area, so that I'm able to provide them with information and resources on how to navigate through our systems. Now, we do partner with Skills. We do partner with some other people that are on the call, and they are located and they service other areas throughout the city of Chicago. They do have a footprint in the West Side communities as well. So this is just our mission, our vision, and our values, and just why we are committed to the Anchor Mission. So Anchor Mission is a program, it's an opportunity for our West Side residents to not only live in the West Side, but to also become employed in the areas which they reside in. We did a study some years back on the life expectancy between the South Loop and the West Side areas. Now, if you all can see, there is a huge age gap in between just what is geographically a couple blocks in difference. Excuse me. By having this data, we felt that it was very important to invest in the local hiring in the West Side community. So our Anchor Mission target communities for the RUMC or Rush University Medical Center location, it is 10 different zip codes. So as we partner with organizations such as Skills, if they have a candidate who's applied for a particular position that resides in one of those locations, they will highlight that this is a resident of the Anchor Mission zip codes. From there, I submit the information over to the recruiter. I highlight and let them know that this is kind of a preferential candidate that we want to take a closer look at to see if they are actually a good fit for any of the roles that we are looking to fill. It does not mean that you automatically get hired. It just points out that this is one of our candidates from that area. Why we do like local hiring, we partner with different agencies and different organizations, as I mentioned before. This is a snapshot of some of our data from the fiscal year of FY21. So as you can see, for the first and the second quarter, we were a little bit under 18.5% of our hires. Our application hub sessions is something that I facilitate with community partners as a way, again, to help them to navigate through our, through our application system. I think Yariela mentioned about how sometimes it can be overwhelming when you are doing the application process. And this kind of helps to eliminate barriers. We want to make sure that it is a seamless process. If there are questions that candidates may have that they are not typically afforded an opportunity to ask someone on the talent acquisition side or on the recruitment side, these are the opportunities and the platforms for them to ask such questions. So I provide the community residents with information, access, and assistance for our employment opportunities. I work with the community partners to find out what their clientele may consist of. So you may have more entry-level clients that you work with. So I will focus on those type of roles, such as like our EVS, which is our environmental services, our environmental tech roles, our food service, patient transport, things that are more entry level. If you have more skilled or clinical trained clients that are looking for employment, such as certified medical assistants or our patient care techs or CNAs, we will work to help them assist through that application process as well. This is a letter that I send out to prospective community partners. So when I am working with or looking or seeking to build relationships with community partners, I want them to understand what the objective is, what the goal is of Anchor Mission, as well as what our objective is with the application hub sessions. So it just gives a brief overview of some of the things that I previously mentioned on how we want to help them to navigate through our systems, answer questions that they may have, and help them so that they can be more viable candidates for positions that they're seeking employment for. This is some data, excuse me, that was collected for the percentages of our Anchor Mission hires. So this is from July of our fiscal year 2022 until February. So the percentage of our new hires that are from Anchor Mission zip codes is at 19.1%. Of that 19.1%, 87.4% have been retained for at least 90 days, and 81.3% of those that were hired have been retained for at least 6 months. In this grid that you see at the bottom, I have the application hub sessions that have been completed, the number of participants, the date that they have happened. I also have the activities and events that have been completed, whether it is an in-person or a virtual hiring event, a roundtable, anything that is giving an opportunity for me to connect with potential candidates for opportunities. Also, I list some of the activities that are planned. Of course, this is some older data, but I have the activities that are planned, upcoming activities. Even I'll put in here if there are meetings for potential new community partners and where we are kind of in that progress. This data here shows what our zip codes, specifically what the people have been hired in the different positions. So it's broken down by zip code, it's broken down by month, and it's broken down by the position. And I told you I was going to speed through it. So I hope it was a NASCAR Daytona 500 speed, but I did want to make sure that I allow for time for us to have a discussion. I know that I ran through it, so if there are any questions that anyone has, please, by all means.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dana. I wanted to have you share this application hub model in addition to, hearing from Andrew and Kelly with their partnership that is, very high volume right now. Because what you've been able to do at the same time is create a model that you can replicate and use with a bunch of community organizations that might be dealing with much smaller populations. And that is a difficult thing to manage for everyone to create a new partnership with every different community organization in Chicago. But what you've done is create a replicable model that you can bring to a wide variety of organizations, which is what I think is really interesting there. We have a question in the chat of how do you conduct the application hub sessions? Are they virtual or in person? Is there an online portal for community residents to access the resources?
So because of COVID, we have, or the application hub sessions that I facilitated thus far have primarily been virtual. And what I'm finding is it makes it easier and more accessible for the candidate or the potential candidate to jump on to a Zoom because they may not be able to make it to an actual site to facilitate or to attend the application hub session. So during the session or before the session, I will meet with the community partner and find out what the specific need is. So again, we have, a wide range of community partners. So they have a lot of different talent, and sometimes they want more skilled exposure or more entry level. So if it's an entry level, I'll do at least 2 positions. So maybe like the food service and the environmental service role. And I don't walk them through, click here, click this, say yes, say no, because everyone is at different speeds and paces when it comes to an actual application. And I don't have a dummy site or a dummy login to kind of go in and navigate through the portal. What I do is help them to be more efficient in their search. So if you were to go on our website, there are over 400 positions, and that in itself can be overwhelming because you may not know where to look. Then sometimes, depending on the institution, you have different names for different positions. So as I mentioned earlier, PCT or patient care tech, someone who has a CNA certification may or may not know that our PCT is interchangeable with some of our CNA roles. So I help them to figure out different ways to navigate through the system to be more efficient with their search. So I'll go through various ways to search for positions. I'll also let them know that setting up a profile is not necessarily submitting an application, because we've had a lot of those situations where people feel like they've set up a profile, so they've applied for the job and then they wonder why they don't hear anything back. So just helping them with those things. And then sometimes I'm even fortunate to have a recruiter to join on the call for the roles that we are discussing at that time. And it helps, again, it creates that conversation so that the applicant can ask some of those questions that when they are filling out the application on their own, they wouldn't have an opportunity to ask. So for example, I had a recruiter, actually I did an application hub session yesterday, and the recruiter was on the call just letting them know, make sure that you are reading the job description and see if it aligns with your experience, if it aligns with what it is that you're trying to do. Understanding that some titles may be different. You also have to be open to the process. So just giving them some of that information and letting them know we actually look at the application. We're not just having a computer generate and look for keywords. We're looking through those applications. And so if there are some things that are not completed on there, it will decrease your chances to moving on to the next round. So that's pretty much the way that I conduct the application hub sessions. Once the application hub sessions are completed, depending on how many roles are in that area that we've discussed, I will send them the links. So like, for example, our RN roles, we have a plethora of those. So I wouldn't send a link to over 84 positions because that would be a lot. But if we have something, maybe it's about 4 or 5 roles under the food service or the patient transport or our EVS roles, I will send the links to that particular community partner and let them know, send these out to your clients. I also make it very clear that you do not have direct access to me, because I want the client to stay in contact with their with the community partner that I'm working with. Sometimes we'll have the application hub sessions and people say, oh, I have access to Dana, so I'll email her and have her as my personal recruiter. No. I want you to make sure that you're communicating with Andrew that you've applied for this position, that you have an interview, that you've been hired. And Andrew and I will have communication as to, if this person wasn't hired, maybe this is why they weren't hired. They haven't submitted the application. So those are some of the things that takes place before, during, and after. I hope I answered the question, Zach.
Thank you, Dana. We don't have time for the full conversation that I planned, and that's okay. I think it was so enlightening to hear from all of our presenters today. I did drop a link to a short poll in the chat please take the time to fill that out, because that will help us identify some potential next steps for CHWC to support everyone in this area. But I also wanted to, what I would like to, Yariela, I'll love to hear what you have to say in just a second. Just for the last few minutes, hear from anybody about new and creative things you're trying now that recruitment has gotten so difficult during COVID and with the Great Recession. Dana, I don't think you mentioned this in your presentation, but we spoke about it yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, how
I
you
apologize.
oh no, don't apologize. But Dana shared with me that for a couple of their roles where they used to require a high school diploma or a GED, they have now changed that to diploma or GED preferred, but not necessarily required, which allows you to expand that applicant pool. But I'd love to hear from others about anything that you're trying these days or considering trying to help you with this community recruitment. And Yariela, go ahead and share whatever you would. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, I was going to speak to that. We keep a couple of positions that only require 8th grade. And for that very purpose, knowing that there are folks that have that. The other thing that we're doing with our zip codes, because our zip codes, you know how you in Baltimore, one part of that zip code could really be in dire need, and then you go a couple of blocks and it's a wealthy neighborhood. It's strange, and so we're really, along with zip codes, and I think you're already doing this, looking at neighborhoods for a deeper penetration, regardless of what the numbers say, the neighborhood, because we know that they sometimes cross over. The other thing, we have a healthcare workforce intermediary in Baltimore called BAC, Baltimore Alliance for Careers in Healthcare, and we partner, member hospitals are a part of that, and it's great, but something I've almost gotten a bit mercenary in my approach now, not that I'm trying to steal from other places, but direct partnerships with training institutions to do trainings only for us, because we've always been in these collaboratives and we still do that. But I think while we still do that, we are contracting with our post-secondary educational institutions, like for phlebotomy. And what we're factoring in as a part of that training is you need to bring a preceptor with you, because everyone is so stretched in the hospital that additional FTE with the experience that we're contracting with the college to come in and help with the clinicals, because that's the catch-22 in some spaces. We want to hire more, but we don't even have the capacity to really expand our clinicals or those things because staffing for that, right? And so we've tried to do that, and then do very specific things with our area that if we're targeting someone that's unemployed or underemployed, we're going to offer, if you meet employment, pathway into this training that's paid for, and that you get paid for even though you're doing the training and working part-time, that then leads to a promotion. And so the development of what we're calling gateway jobs, which allows for, maybe you don't have the high school diploma yet. The state of Maryland has a lot of youth apprenticeships that they're trying to come up, but now we're coming up against job descriptions that require high school or certifications. And so now we're going back to comp in the departments looking at that, that kind of stuff. So those are, again, now coming back and looking at barriers that we have to adjust in our processes to really provide more access. I was going to ask, can I come back to the next meeting when you discuss? My mother's probably rolling in her grave. I'm inviting myself to the party, but I really enjoyed this meeting and have learned a great deal, and hope to continue the exchange. The stuff that I'm hearing and learning is inspiring me for stuff that we could be doing in Baltimore.
Absolutely, Yariela. I will definitely keep you updated on anything we have coming up. We would love to have you. And I think it's interesting, Patronella's just shared in the chat that at Sinai, they've really had a big push on employee referrals with doubling the bonus, shortening the payment timeline for that, and that has worked across the system. That is very interesting. I know we only have 2 minutes left, but anybody else have some new strategy they'd like to share? Dana, go ahead.
I apologize. Really quickly, I forgot to mention, in addition to lowering the credential from high school and GED required, we have also increased a lot of our sign-on bonuses for positions. For example, like our certified medical assistant was initially $750 when I came on board. It's now at $2,000. Some of our mammographer tech roles were at $2,000. Now they're at $5,000. So just increasing those sign-on bonuses as a way to help increase the candidate pipeline, or the candidates that we.
Go ahead, Alicia. And thank you all for joining. I know you all have to sign up soon or sign off. Please fill out that poll, and I look forward to continuing these conversations. Go ahead, Alicia.
No, thank you, everyone. This has been really great and insightful. As Cook County Health, we're the problem child. We're very prehistoric. So what we're just recently started doing is hiring blitzes and hiring fairs. So that's not innovative to a lot of these organizations. However, we have an employment plan and Shackman plan that prevents us from doing these very circumvented hiring processes. But we took usually what is a 3-month process and put it down into a day process for candidates for our hard to fill roles.
That's impressive. Oh man, thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you, Yariela, Kelly, Andrew, and Dana. I will be sending out their slides to everyone who joined this call. And the recording will be up on YouTube before the end of the week. And I'll send that out in a newsletter, as well as that resource sheet that I put together. And I hope to continue this conversation. So thank you all so much. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and a good week. See you next time.
Thank you. It was a great meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.